Hey, what is happening, fellow van builders? This is Scott. Welcome back to the channel. And today it is Seat Swivel Day. I've got these Scopema seat swivels that I'm going to put in the 2021 Sprinter van, and they're a robust design. Let me show them to you. All right, so they're made in France. Very heavy. These came from the Swivel Shop. This is the driver's side. This is the hardware kit for the emergency brake spacer that needs to go in. This is the hardware kit that goes with this seat mounting. And here is passenger side as well. So your seats are going to have to come off. You're going to need to unplug your battery. In some cases, wait 10 minutes, or else what I've read online is you can get some codes that get thrown. Once you wait the 10 minutes and then disconnect the wiring harness underneath the seat, then you can start disassembling the mount for where the seat is attached to the pedestal. And I'll show you the tools you're going to need for that. So here we've got a Milwaukee ratchet, and then the sockets that go on that, which are Torx sockets. You don't need that to get the job done, frankly. Okay, so here we go. In my case, this is a gas Sprinter, so the disconnect I don't see up here that's supposedly behind this panel that it exists for a diesel. So I'm going to disconnect the battery, and you simply take these two trim pieces out, pull this up, and there's a metal panel under there to disconnect the battery. And then once we do that, you can get a good sense for it here. Up under here is the wiring harness we're going to disconnect from the seat. And so we're going to pull that loose, and then we're going to start working on these Torx fittings on both sides. Once we do that, we're going to move the whole seat forward. We're going to unscrew these Torx fittings here and here. And it's important to put the whole seat forward, so you need to clear these panels in order to pull the seat out. So this will have to be cranked forward, right? This one. I'm going to crank that all the way forward. So this clears when you lift the seat. This is probably a better look at it. When you lift the whole seat out to get access. All right, so taking the E-Torx right size here for what we're looking for, we're going to loosen this up so we can get at the battery. This is regular Torx, sorry. E-Torx is right here, and these will help with the screws on the seat tracks. So let's get after it. Okay, so we got those screws out. Let's get this trim piece off. Go. And then now we need to get to the battery. We're going to pull this out. And voila, battery cover. Okay, just disconnected the positive and negative leads and taped them up. You're supposed to wait 10 minutes, but I think that could apply to the diesel. I'm not sure, because if you start disconnecting the seat wiring harness here for airbags and sensors and whatnot, if you don't wait the 10 minutes, it's supposed to throw some sort of code. So I am going to clock down the 10 minutes, even though this is a gas Sprinter, before I start disconnecting the seat. All right, we waited the 10 minutes, so let's click these prongs. See if we can get that to come out. There we go. That's the wiring harness now disconnected in the seat. Okay, so we took the first E-Torx bolt out up front here. We're going to take this next one out here. And it's important to go the two fronts first before you get to the backs, because you don't want these tracks to come out of alignment. And so those two fronts are off. That's the eTorx bolt. It'll get replaced with different kind of hardware that came with the kit. And put that all the way forward, and then we'll go after the next bolts. All right, let's go. I put the seat all the way forward, and you have to put the back forward as well, because we're going to lift this whole thing out and move it out the driver's side door. So all of that needs to get arranged before you loosen everything up. We are loose on the seat. All right, so now we're going to just, without scratching and beating the crap out of the Sprinter, hopefully, fingers crossed, we're going to try to get this out of here. All right, so emergency brake lowering kit. This plastic cover is really easy to get to from when the seat's off, which is nice. So we just remove that, and there's an area where it pops on here, and an area where it pops on down here. And we're gonna put that aside and then start working on this. So the lowering kit. Alright, so after further review, the lowering kit will go on here and bring these bolts down a good half an inch. This will come out. This plastic piece will go in, or not plastic, it's metal, will go in to replace that. And so let's get started. Nicely. And then this hardware goes in here with these flathead Allen key bolts. And this is a number 6, it looks like, Allen key. That goes all the way through there. Tough to get it in. Maybe this will help. Onto something here. All right. So one thing's for sure, when you put this sort of beauty plastic cover back on, and I've seen this online, the recommendation, otherwise it won't fit, is you need to cut away some plastic from here out to here and down here, so this will seat back down again. So I was just looking to get kind of the approximate area where I need to cut, and I'm going to score a line with a skill knife and then cut it. So I'm saying I'm going to need to cut it up here. I'm just going to follow that line. Probably bring it out. And then down. So again, it's kind of faint. It's even faint for me. I'm going to have to go back over it so I can see it. But that's what I'm going to cut out. All right, we need to cut this piece out here, which is, this is what goes over the emergency brake. And I've taped it out, the space I think I'm going to need. I'm going to try to make that a fairly smooth cut. I've got two different types of I don't know, saw bits here that go on the oscillating tool. One is for metal and one is for general purpose, and I'm just not sure which one's going to do the job, so I'm just going to take a little practice run and see what she does. Bad. I kind of put my name in it right here. Hopefully I can smooth that out a little bit. Oops. That is clearly not pretty. That's better. So this is the general, it's carbide, but it's the general purpose bit, and it seems to be doing a little bit better job than the metal bit. Tape helps you not scar up the rest of the plastic, so definitely recommend the tape. And now I need to get a little something in here because that bothers me. I'm going to see if I can get that to a smoother look. Well, there's pretty much a finished product, and look, if I'm honest, I'd probably start out with a Dremel. It's a little bit more precise in its cut than that DeWalt oscillating tool, but you grab some files. In my case, I had a round file, and a flat file, and it actually works well on plastic. I cleaned it up, so now we're ready for the install. Take this and slide it in here. And there you have it. Okay, let's see if it works. No rubbing in the back. Full functionality. Right on. All right, friends, I'm going to tell you that this was a bit like hand-to-hand combat here. When I originally put the seat swivel on here, the castings on the bases was slightly off in terms of where the screws go in. So I actually had to lift up the whole seat base to get a screw to catch and get it all to seat. And I'm just at that stage now where I'm tightening the screws down. But be careful when you originally put these in, right? You have to swivel the base and then start to screw these in before you continue with the rest of the assembly. This part's really important, and you don't want to strip these out because you'll run into a real problem at that point. So go about this in a cautious fashion, but you know, make sure you get them fully seated and the screws started before you strip anything, or bend these metal tabs, which basically holds the screw threads underneath here. So it's all doable, but got to manage it carefully. There we go. And then the next step is we're going to grab the seat and mount it to this top swivel plate. All right, we're reassembling the back tracks, and that's the bolt and the nut we're using. 17 inches, 17 millimeter. I'm just going to tighten her up. That one's done. Let's tighten this other one up. Important to be able to get your deal out. Slide this back so we can get to the front ones. We gotta shift it again just a little bit. Okay, let's get these front ones done. Okay, the last one. Let's see if I can figure out how this works now. Got the seat up, rotate, come around, rotate this back to be comfortable. And now you're out into your van. All right. Well, one Scopema driver's side seat swivel installed. Round 2 coming next. Let's get after it. All right, so I noticed after I installed that these marks were along here, and that just doesn't look right to me. Same mark over here. So I went back to the Swivel Shop directions, swivelshop.com, pulled up the Mercedes that I have and the kit. Lo and behold, it says to take this stud off. So that's what I've done here. I've already taken one stud off by using this tool. And it's got the bit on it that allows for, cut through metal. So I'm gonna take this next one off and then reinstall the seat. cordless oscillating multi-tool. Killed it. Both studs off. Gotta get some metal shavings up, and then I'll put the seat back on. Okay, time to reinstall after I've taken the studs off. One quick tip, this seems super obvious, but this is the main wiring harness up to the seat. It was coming out of here. It needs to come through here so that when the seat swivels, it doesn't grab this wiring harness in any way and cause any problems. So we've taken the studs off the seat tracks, and now we're going to put the seat back on. Okay, here we go. So here's those studs on the track on the passenger seat that I haven't done, and they actually go down into a little seat, like a little hole there to hold the track straight. And then here it just gets in the way and slices the metal, so you got to take those off, and now you have a clear swivel path all the way with no obstructions. You can see that there. Before, those studs were sticking down and grinding into the metal. So it helps to look at the directions. We are in day 2 of installing Scopema seat swivels. I'm sitting in the first one on the driver's side, facing to the rear of the van, and it's really comfortable. The height is what it should be, not too high. These are really low profile seat swivels. A couple of recommendations: make sure you read the directions. The SeatSwivelShop.com has them online, and it's important because in this particular build year, you actually need to cut off some of the studs that are on the rear tracks, the slide tracks. Those have to come off in order for the install to go appropriately. So easy to do, as long as you're following directions, which I didn't do on the first go around, but was able to make the change, and it worked out great. So this is about a 2-hour job, I think. I rate myself as moderately handy on the first go around. I think the passenger side will go much quicker, and assuming you've got the appropriate tools. So join me for round 2. Let's get after the Scopema seat swivel for the passenger side. Here we go. All right, so just a reminder here, make sure you get this wiring harness detached before you start the process, because you don't want to yank this off when you pull the seat out. Okay, so first thing we'll do after step 1 was to disconnect the wiring harness. Step 2, let's bring this all the way forward. Oops. For this step, you're going to want eye protection, ear protection for sure, depending on the tool you're using. Okay, very important to get all the metal shavings off, because these metal shavings can cause rust in other areas. And I can see that I cut her a little close here and got some rub marks on this lower track, which is steel. So I'm just going to put some primer on that, on both of these, and let that dry before I mount it up on top of the swivel seat, because wherever there's bare metal, you can be assured there's going to end up being some rust. So I'll primer that up. Okay, we got a little 3M single coat primer. I'm just gonna a bit dried up, but I'm going to put a little here and a little down on the lower piece. Boy, man, these Scopema seat swivels are heavy. Woo! See, yeah, that aligns better. Interestingly enough, I think the Scopema seat swivels are probably really well cast in terms of their dimensions. One of the things I ran into on the other seat was not all the holes lined up. And it was, I think, a Mercedes issue because of the way the pedestal was put together. And this is a really interesting, it's almost like folded over with the screw receiver underneath, and they're not the most precise in my opinion. I suspect this is more precise. So I had a little bit of a battle on that side, getting the bolt holes to go all the way in and seat properly, but we got it to work. Make sure you bring your wiring harness feed through here. That's important because this seat's going to swivel around. You don't want it on the outside. So we got that done, and then here's your hardware. And then first thing is to get your seat to swivel. So it was a little stubborn disconnecting the swivel, but I picked the whole thing up and put it down this way and pulled the lever and then it immediately let go. So that works. And each of the Scopema seat swivels, when they're shipped, they come with the mounting hardware. Very clearly on here it says passenger side, made in France. And so the first thing you want to install, just as we did with the front one, is the flat heads with the Allen keys. That's first. This is a little more swivel. Put that first one in. This is a number 6 Allen key. What I'm gonna do is put it in, as they always say, don't tighten it all the way. Make sure everything fits appropriately first. So we're gonna do that. Two, like that. This looks a little stubborn over here, a little suspect. You have to pick it up a bit, but it's going in, which is good. All right, so I had the same challenge as the driver's side. So this pedestal that Mercedes has, the receiver threads are sort of just brazed on these tabs under here. It's not precise. So when you put your Scopema seat swivel down, don't be surprised if it's slightly out of alignment in terms of these receiver screw, the threads and the seat pedestal. So I've had to lift this up to get these in. I've lifted it up and then put the screw in. I also had to take this punch and put it down in there and push the threads back up to make them level again to receive this. So I would just say take your time, manipulate it around a little bit. This is exactly the same challenge I had on the driver's side until you get all of the screws seated and sort of screwed in and you feel comfortable with how secure they are before you thread it all the way down. But it's interesting to me, I had the same issue on both sides. we're going to do those front ones first. All right, let's see if this baby will rotate around. So we slide it all the way up. Now, I've got a Nightfall Overland organizer back here, and it easily clears when I crank the seat forward, so that's no problem. Around she comes, and we're good. So you can slide this back, and then crank your seat back. Let's test it out. Phew. 2 Scopema seat swivels installed. We're done. I hope you enjoyed what you've seen here and learned a little bit about what requires to install a seat swivel. Thanks for joining me. If you like what you're seeing, please hit that like button. Please subscribe, and we'll bring more content to you soon with this overall van build that we're doing. We're going to move it along, and one step at a time. I'm in no rush. Just want to do it right. So be good. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.